Hi everyone, this is video 2 to the story Stray by Cynthia Ryland. So I want to make sure that you have your story with you because we're going to need it. So you can go ahead and circle some words that today our focus is to understand unknown words. So I need you to have that in front of you. If you don't have it, it's okay. Just bring out your notebook and go ahead and do your write down the words that I'm going to have the rest of the class or everyone else circle, okay? So no biggie, just make sure you have something to write with and your paper or notebook so that you can go ahead and jot down what we're discussing. One other thing, remember to label your notebook title it with whatever discussion you're having with your teachers, just so that you keep track of what you are writing and where you're writing it so you don't get confused. So if, for example, if you're doing Stray Video 1, then you would title your notebook Stray Video 1, Stray Video 2, on the next page so that you get from at least get organized where you're writing everything, okay? I know we're asking you to do a lot of writing and jotting and summaries, so it's important that you title so that you don't get confused and you know where everything is at, okay? So with that said, go ahead and pause the video if you need to grab all your materials and join back, okay? So I'm gonna share my screen with you so we can go over the vocabulary words that I thought we needed to review and make sure that we understand so that we get a better understanding of the story, okay? So I'm gonna have you bring out, if you have that in front of you, your story, you should have this one right in front of you. And I'm gonna tell you exactly which ones to circle, or the words that I want you to go ahead and circle. So the first word I want you to go ahead and circle, if you don't have it again, jot the word down in your notebook, okay? So the first one would be icicles, and go ahead and repeat the word so you know how to pronounce it as well. Icicles, write that word down or circle it if you have your copy. Second word would be cinder block. Repeat the word, cinder block. Write it down or circle it. Next word, timidly. Timidly. Go ahead and circle that one. Okay. Next one I wanted you to circle was trudged. 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 And I'll give you a clue on that one. If you remember Lulu from the story that we read at the beginning of the year, she was doing this as she walked through the forest. She trudged through the forest, if you remember that line. Next one, grudgingly. Grudgingly. Okay. And the very last one, shepherd. Shepherd, make sure you circle that one or write it down. Okay. So now that you have those circled and underlined, I'm gonna show you my slide with the meaning of these words and pictures so that you can get a better idea of what they mean. And then we're gonna go back and read the sentence, make sure we understand now that you know the meaning, what that sentence is saying, okay? So I'm gonna share my slides. Here is the first one, so stray, but here are some examples and of what these words mean, okay? Some pictures so that you can get a better understanding. Let me make this a little larger, okay? So unknown words for stray. The first one that I asked you to circle was icicles. So icicles look like this. It's when it's snowing really, really, really hard, or it gets really, really cold where the temperature drops. And we don't see this too much here in California, but around the world, if it snows, you know, throughout the year or through their season of winter, they do get icicles hanging from the side of their home or on the top of their roof, right where the end of the roof is. So these you might have seen in a movie. So it's pretty much ice that's just frozen water that was dripping as it was raining, and it formed the icicles. So these are icicles, okay? Plowed. I'm not sure if I have, oh, you know what, that was a word that I didn't ask you to circle actually, sorry. So plowed, you hear Doris is doing something on the driveway. She is plowing through the driveway. That means she's shoveling some snow, right? She's shoveling snow out of the way so that they can drive in and out with their car. So that's plowed, okay? Grudgingly, you see this picture of this woman here where it's an expression. Grudgingly is like you're not happy, but you're uncomfortable with whatever the decision is. Or in the case of the story, you see that Mrs. Lacey, it says on the bottom, Mrs. Lacey is grudgingly lets Doris feed its table scraps. She's referring to the dog. As she's feeding the dog, she's grudgingly, like she's not too happy about it, but she's letting it happen. Shepherd is a type of dog. So you'll see that in the story, and we'll go back to the sentence where it says shepherd, it's talking about a certain type of dog, okay? And cinder blocks, these are cinder blocks. So they're describing the driveway where she's shoveling the snow or removing the snow from cinder blocks. I believe that's what it said, but we'll go back. So this is what it looks like. These are cinder blocks. Maybe you've seen it on fences when people, I know I have a cinder block fence alongside of the house of my house. So you'll see where fences are made with these cinder blocks. Timidly, you see a picture of this little boy here where you're kind of shy, you're shy, but you're curious, you want to know what they're going to say, but you're shy about it. So that's timidly. Trudged, remember what I mentioned about Lulu. So trudged means where you're pushing yourself to move forward. Maybe it's a hard walk through, if, for example, for Lulu, right, going through the forest, you can imagine how probably heavy, of a lot of leaves and vines. So she was trudging, she was pushing forward, she was going through the forest. So in the story, they mentioned the word trudge. So we're going to read that sentence as well to make sure we understand what they're saying. So let's go back and find those words in the reading, okay? So let me go back, sorry. Let me go back to the story as soon as I can make this work. Sorry, guys. There it is, sorry. So in the story, let's go back and take a look at it. So the first word was icicles. So I'll read the sentence for you. In January, a puppy wandered onto the property of Mr. Amos Lacey and his wife, Mammy, and their daughter, Doris. Icicles hung 3 feet or more from the eaves of houses. So remember, icicles is the ice, right, that hangs from the roof. So there were 3 feet long, and these were long icicles. So that's just so you remember, so you know what, as they're describing where she's at or where she's living, you can imagine, make that movie in your head. There's these big icicles hanging from the roof. Okay, next word was cinder block. So we'll read it now. So now that you know what a cinder block looks like, Doris, whose school had been called off because of the snow, was out shoveling the cinder block front steps. So imagine cinder blocks. So she has steps that are made out of cinder blocks. So they've been put together to make her steps. So these are, now you know where she's shoveling, okay? She's shoveling these cinder block steps. Timidly, that was one of our other words, timidly. The puppy stopped in the road, wagging its tail timidly. So you imagine the puppy stopping in the middle of the road, and he's just like kind of glancing at her, and they're timidly, what do you call it? He's timidly looking at her, like he's curious, but not so curious, right? Or he's wondering. Next one is trudged. Trudged is right here. Let me find it for you, sorry. Doris trudged through the yard. So Doris trudged through the yard. So you can imagine she's pushing herself. Imagine there's snow everywhere. So she's pushing herself and trudging through the snow, right? Last word, Lacey grudgingly lets Doris, this is the word right here, Lacey grudgingly let Doris feed it table scraps. So remember, Mrs. Lacey and Mr. Lacey are not too happy about the dog, but he has to stay because the weather is so bad. They really can't drive him to the pound. So grudgingly, she's like forced to, okay, she's letting her feed the dog, but she's not too happy about it. Next word or last word is shepherd. Shepherd, remember, it's a type of dog. So let's read that sentence. By the looks of it, Doris figured the puppy was about 6 months old and on its way to being a big dog. She thought it might have some shepherd in it. So by the looks of the looks of the dog, she figured this dog must have like this you call it, this dog must have a trace of shepherd, like this type of dog, a mix of this dog in there. Okay, so now that we went over those words, I ask that you please read the story one more time so you get a better understanding of it, and go ahead and write a summary about the story. So write a summary about the story so you get an idea of what happened in the story in sequential order. Remember, beginning, middle, after, and then at the end, or lastly, what happens in the end, okay? Hope you guys found this helpful, and tomorrow we will go over our 3 slides, just like we did with Papa's Parrot, the 3 slides about inferring and answering some questions to get a better understanding of the story. Okay, my friends, thank you very much, and make sure, don't forget to finish your work. Don't forget to read every day. This is going to help you tremendously in 4th grade. So make sure that you read the story one more time. Remember, we don't only read it once, we read it multiple times to get a better understanding. And I'll see you tomorrow. That will be video 3 that you'll be looking for, okay? Thanks, guys. Have a good day.